In today's episode, we're speaking to Mark Murphy once again. Mr. Murphy is an accomplished CEO, author, speaker, motivator, and podcast host who is transforming the financial planning and wealth management industry with his innovative and forward-thinking approach. And in today's episode, we're speaking to him about the roadmap to creating generational wealth. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today, once again, we have the amazing, the wonderful, the charming Mark Murphy. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me to your program. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Mark. We had such a fantastic conversation on Friday feature on Friday. We had to have you back for Money Talkies. So please, now everyone has heard your intro again. They know how amazing you are, but please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
I'm a key business strategist, critical thinker, financial advisor to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinking people, and we help people create multi-generational wealth.
Wonderful. And this is why today we're talking about how to create a roadmap for multi-generational wealth. So this is a fascinating conversation and something that I'm definitely interested in, and I'm working on it myself. So how do we start? How do we create this? How do we, what's the first thing to do, Mark?
Well, I think there's so much confusion, clarity, and lack of clarity where people, I think sometimes, I always say if you're inside the jar, it's hard to read the label.
Yeah.
And so part of it, I think, is to be able to give people tools and resources, because very few people who are entrepreneurs out there would not like to create multi-generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so try to give people at least a blueprint or a roadmap of some of the things that they might do to give them that opportunity to go do that, because quite frankly, so few people do it.
Yes, I know,
everyone's aspirations are good, but they can't figure out how to execute.
100%.
And we try to talk about how that works. And I think it's because they've been educated improperly or not educated in how to do it.
I mean, this would make sense to me, because I think if I look at the amount of money that my father made in his lifetime, I didn't get anything from him because my father remarried and my parents separated, and so I grew up in the slums of East London, but he did make a lot of money, and he'd been in today's day and age, he'd be a billionaire. That's the kind of money he made. But he lost it all, and from what I hear, what he's left to his wife and kids, he did leave them, I think a couple of million or something, but it's nothing compared to what he could have left them. And there's no way that he's created generational wealth, which is a shame. So I've learned from him, and everything I have, I've created myself. So I'm a self-made person, but I'm making sure that my children don't do the same thing. So he made it himself. He didn't get anything from his father. He made it himself. I made it all myself. I want to make sure that my children have something to start with when they start building on their wealth and their legacy that can be left to my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So talk me through what is the blueprint?
I mean, if you look at things like a pyramid and you look at the bottom of the pyramid,
yeah,
I think that it all starts with cash confidence.
Yeah.
Cash confidence to me, and that comes in two forms. One is that the best investments that I have made have always been when I had money and someone else needed money.
Mm.
Or when you're running a business or running the like, you need to, if you have a bad quarter, if you have a bad 6 months, if you have a bad year, you've got to have the cash confidence to allow your business to go through those rough times, because things don't go like this. They sometimes go like this.
Of course, yes.
And so I think the number one reason why people do not have success or do not reach the level of success that they should is because they don't have cash confidence. Mm-hmm. And that can come either with having money in the bank or having what we call ARR, which stands for annual recurring revenue. Mm-hmm. So if you have some ARR coming in, that you then have the ability to withstand and be able to invest back in your business. So cash mm-hmm. confidence comes in those two forms. And I think without that, the chances of success are diminished.
Yeah.
The second thing on the pyramid, when you go up the scale, is I believe that, I've said this for probably 30 years. I've said money markets, CDs, IRAs, 401ks, TSAs, depending on the country you're in, retirement accounts, those sorts of things, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all those kinds of vehicles. Most of our clients have some or all those assets. Most of our clients will have some or all those assets all their life, but at best, they're inflation-adjusted holding tanks. Mm-hmm. If Bill Gates was on the phone or Elon Musk was on the phone with us today or on the show, they wouldn't say I'm worth, hundreds of billions of dollars because of my mutual funds, or because true wealth is created in one of three areas. So the second part of the pyramid to me is, if you only have $1 to invest and only $1, I want to invest that in your business or your money machine. You must invest in your money machine. I think so many people think of investments as things like retirement accounts or stocks or those sorts of things. And again, they're not wealth creators. Wealth creation is what you do within that business. So the first place I looked at in that pyramid is I look to invest my money in my business or some other operating company. Second place I look is income producing real estate. Third is financing deals, getting on the lending side of the transaction. I'll also leave out divorce and inheritance, because that's how people create wealth as well. You can have wealth if your parents die and leave you lots of money, or you could do that if you in a divorce. I've seen that happen. But let's focus on the first three, because we're an empowered group, not a reactionary.
So I mean, leaving aside the inheritance, because I should have got something, I got zero. And divorce, again, I should have got something from both the divorces, but I got zero. So let's leave that to one side. Let's focus on creating it yourself. So yeah, let's focus on the first three.
Yeah. So in the second part of the pyramid it's feeding your money machine. If you have $1 to invest, how do you do that? And here's my criteria. There's in my world, there's expenses and there's investments.
Yeah.
If you're an expense, you're always on the chopping block. If you're an investment, I have an unlimited appetite for investment, as long as I can get at least a 4 or 5 to 1 return on my money or more. That's my minimum threshold. That's there. And things like my pet peeves, to give you an example. I don't believe you really grow a company. I believe you grow people. So you must really invest in people. And sometimes you don't get an immediate return. People will invest and think, well, where's my return? I put money into this and it didn't happen right away. Sometimes it takes several years or longer to create that return on people, when you're growing people and investing in people. So when people say to me, like, I'll talk to a business owner and they'll say to me, my biggest expense is people. And I go, well, if they're an expense, that you should fire them all. I said, if they're an investment, they're going to be there to help you grow that business.
100%.
And the other part of the mindset, Gull, is that most people who own a business think they're entrepreneurs. And most of them have bought themselves a job. And here's my criteria. My criteria for that is, there's the simple question is, are you getting paid for what you do, or are you getting paid for what you know? If I could take you out of your business today, Gull, and I put you in the witness protection program for 2 years, would your business not only have survived, would it have thrived? And for most people, they can't, because it's what they do. They're without them in the business. I mean, there are 2 golden rules to me of wealth is, your money has to work while you sleep, and your business has to create revenue without you being there. If not, you're, as Mark Cuban says, you're a wantrepreneur.
I completely agree with that. I think that's the reason why the business the other additional. So I've got multiple businesses, and one of them being the coaching is the one where, if I'm not there, I'm the product. I'm the service. I provide the service. If I'm not there, nothing gets done. And even if we have and I'm trying to create an evergreen version of it. So even if I'm not there, we can do the monthlies and MMRs and so forth. So there's something coming in, even if I'm not around. So if I'm even the witness protection program for 2 years or something like that, use that example. So because I've learned from that example, and then there's no longevity on this, if I pop up the planet tomorrow, that business will end with me. Hence my desire to create additional businesses. So there's another business I've got that with my brother, with this around the short-term lets and holiday lets, that all I do is account management, which any accountant could do. So I can come out from it and nothing will suffer, nothing be the worst. We can even hire a bookkeeper and accountant right now, and that's it. I don't have to do anything for it. My brother does the rest, and it's taken care of. So I'm completely out of that. My third one, and that's probably the really the multiple 7-figure business that I have all these key people in place, and I make the key decisions, but I can make those decisions from afar. Like if I was somewhere, I could type, okay, this, yes, no, whatever, but it's very minimal. My input in the day-to-day running of the business is non-existent. It's usually the bigger decisions I make. So I work on the business, not in the business, because I have key, amazing team to do everything else in the business. And I've purposely kept it that way, so that I don't have to be at the work, at the business, for it to run. And I could pull myself away and I do at times, and I work, and everything still gets done. I think that's the way that I purposely designed it, because I didn't want to be working day in, day out and not have a job.
That's I think that makes that all rings true to me. That makes perfect sense. Um, um, the next part I was talking about multi-generational wealth. After you talk about feeding your money machine, I think the next thing is, as somebody who, like yourself, who helps people and advises people, there are dozens and dozens of asset classes.
Mm-hmm.
But for our purpose of this discussion, there's only two. And we call them paychecks, or either free capital or play checks.
Mm-hmm.
And so with paychecks is what I want people to do is I want them to set up a series of assets that will give them either guaranteed or highly reliable streams of income
Mm-hmm.
to fund their lifestyle. And I'll call those paychecks. But then on the other side, I want to have another series of assets where you can save it, you can spend it, you can give it away. But the important thing is it will not be responsible for producing income for your family. So if you have both paychecks and playchecks, that's financial freedom. But there's still one more level up on the pyramid, is that if you have an operating company and earned income beyond normal retirement age, so when all your friends are going to early bird specials or worried about living too long or drinking, domestic beer instead of imported beer or whatever their fancy is, you can be a net saver in your 50s, 60s, 70s, even into your 80s by having an earned income, as long as that income surpasses what you earn or what you spend. And even if it doesn't produce 100% of your spending, well, if that can produce a good percentage of that spending, it allows the rest of your assets to not have to work very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so those can be compounding as well. Remember, as Albert Einstein says, those who understand compound interest benefit from it,
Mm-hmm.
and those that do not pay it.
Yes.
So I've always been very, very cognizant of that. But I think, if you start with cash confidence, feeding your money machine, paychecks, playchecks, and then having earned income and operating income, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm 60 years old, I'm 65, I'm 70, I've got to sell my company and retire. I don't see how, after you sell that business, pay the taxes you owe on that,
Mm-hmm.
and then reinvest it, it's almost never, I'll have somebody that will say, I'm making $600,000 a year and I'm going to sell my company, and after I pay the tax, I'm going to have $1.2 million. And they come to you and they say, I'd like to replace my lifestyle. And I go, I can do that. And they go, you can? And I go, yes, as long as you're terminally ill and are only going to live for 2 years. We can do that. We can do that. If you're planning on living more than 2 years, I don't think, that plan's going to work.
Mm.
And I think, so many people have not really thought through, what that looks like.
Mm. I mean, this rings bells to me, because I think I know it's hindsight. It's a brilliant thing. So I'm teaching my children the right way to manage money, as from the get-go. Even now, when both of them get wages from my company, and I'm investing into what we have. I don't know what's the equivalent in the US, but we have what's called ISAs. So it's the tax-free, efficient way for them to save. So they get below the maximum they can get below the threshold of the tax threshold. So whatever money comes in goes straight into their ISAs, and we can save up to 9,000 a year. But I'm not relying on how much I'm putting something in, but I'm relying on the fact that by the time that compound takes effect over the course of the years, by the time they're 40, by the time my age, they'll be multi-millionaires in this tax efficient way. But I wasn't. I've only I didn't get to know all of these things, and I even though I was aware of them in my 30s, for various reasons I never invested in them correctly. But I know for a fact that had I invested the money that I wasted on various businesses in the right way, I could have by now had a decent, very, very healthy amount in my ISA. Now, I go back to what you said in the beginning. I invested in learning. I invested in businesses, which didn't work, by the way. So I failed miserably. So if someone looks at me and says, "Oh, she's done phenomenally well, and she's been very lucky," no, my whole of my 30s. So since I had my daughter, I've not gone back to employment. I've done various businesses, and I failed abysmally, absolutely awfully on most of them until recently. I could have, if I look at my hindsight, I could have invested that money into stocks. I could have invested into ISAs or whatever else, and I could have been much better off. However, I would not have millions. I was doing now, because all of those money that I was investing in businesses, and I think that was investment into my learning. So here's a question to you. If I have a dollar, and if I look at my life, the amount of money that I wasted on those businesses, had I invested into, basically, by the way, so prime example, I was looking at Amazon when it first launched, and it was $25. I was looking at Facebook when it was first launched, and it was around 20, it was in 2015, $20. This is going back in 2010, 2011. I should have invested in them. I didn't. Yet I invested in businesses which failed dismally. What would you say to somebody like this and say, well, what's better, me investing in learning, in trying to run a business, and I failed dismally? However, I have to add this. Had I not gone through those businesses, I wouldn't have learned the stuff I learned, which allows me to run a very successful multiple seven-figure businesses now. So I have to add that in. But I would have that kind of money, like that would have 10x or I don't know, probably 20x or whatever it is now in today's stock exchange. What's your advice on that? So what would you say to that?
Well, the best place, the best time to gamble on a sporting event is the day after the event.
100%.
So it's there. So the idea is you could have invested in Amazon or Google or Facebook or whatever you did. You could also invested in Enron or in Lehman Brothers, or Lucent as well.
Yes,
so part of it, and there've been no learning on that unless that's what you did for a living. So as I've said to you before, I think as we've talked in the past, is that those failures, just the failure you had, is just another part of the journey and part of the market research that you had to be there, and you would not have had the success with the companies you've had you not done that. And I think that it's never the problem, it's how you think about the problem. In life. It's never in life, it's never that problem. It's always how you think about the problem. And so one of the things that I think we talk about mindset is, if something bad happens to you, I think you have to deal with it, because if you just ignore it, it just keeps coming back, or you can't see things through rose-colored glasses. But at the end of the day, I think your mind immediately has to go to what great entrepreneurs do, is their mind immediately goes to what's great about that. Let's say something personal. You broke up with your boyfriend. And it's okay to mourn the relationship. I don't know if it's a day or a week or 2 weeks, or I don't know what the appropriate amount of mourning is. But ultimately, I think your mind has to go immediately to, what's great about that is that person was not the right person for me. And that boyfriend or that girlfriend. And now I freed up the time to now spend more time with my friends, to go find the right person for me, to do some of the things that I wasn't doing because I was tied up in that relationship. And your mindset works up, and that doesn't mean you don't mourn the relationship or you don't deal with the problem, but that your mindset, with whatever bad happens to you, you find that silver lining, you find what's great about that. And I think that, as Dan Sullivan says so well, he goes, we've got to win this year with the cards we have, not the cards we wish we had.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
And part of the, and that doesn't mean we don't try to acquire the cards we want, but we got to win this year with the cards we have. Because people say, well, once I get those cards, once I get all the aces in my hand, well, then I'm going to come and play, which will never happen. We got to win with the cards we have today. And I think what my unique ability is, or I think my unique ability is to see people where they are right now, but to believe in them so viscerally that they believe in themselves. That they see that there's a possibility of that they can have the life they want, the life by design. And that I think that belief is, and confidence is the number one thing people have to worry about.
I agree. I think I think one of the tasks that a mentor has is to see what the mentee cannot see, and believe in them when they don't believe in themselves. Because I think it ultimately comes down to confidence. If you can instill the confidence in the individual, they will create that life. They will be able to achieve everything they set out to achieve. So coming back to this idea then, so let's go back to the wealth then, so that you need to put money into your money machine to be able to create a regular income. And then invest. Is that what you're saying?
No. I think the idea is, but the second thing is, and some people never stop feeding their money machine. But ultimately, like you mentioned, let's say the stock market. You were talking about stocks before. Let's say the stock market over a 50-year period might average 7 to 12%.
Yeah.
Say 7 to 12% on that piece. And you got to be lucky to keep your fees low and to keep the taxes. You got to pay taxes on that.
Mm.
And you have some luck with some timing and just, when you make the investment and when you pull it out and all those things. I believe for most entrepreneurs, they can find things to do in their business where they don't get a 10% return, as you said, but where they can get at least a 4 or 5 to 1 return on their money or more.
Mm.
There should be an unlimited appetite for that type of investment. And I think people can see that in terms of synergy. And as I've also mentioned before, collaboration. Who are the people that you need to identify in your life? It's too hard to do things by yourself. It's too hard to grow a business. It's too hard to grow your income. It's too hard to have more freedom of time. I think a lot of people I talk with, Gull, who have families like we do, I have 5 children, Lisa and I have 5 kids, is to find enough time. In my life, it's not just growing my business or growing my income. It's about growing freedom of time. Yes. So that I can have more time off, or freedom of relationships. I think as you get older, you start to say, well, life is short and I want to spend the time with the people in my personal and business life that I want to spend time with. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately, it's about freedom of purpose. Having the kind of purpose you want, having and so the idea is, who are we going to collaborate with? What are the books we're going to read? Who are the people we are going to hang out with that are going to help us to inspire us, to lift us up, so that we can not only help ourselves but help others.
Sounds amazing. So if we try to wrap this up now, so can we give a summary of the different steps?
Well, I think it starts with cash confidence at the bottom of the pyramid. You want to feed your money machine second. Mm-hmm. You then want to, if you fed your money machine, you then want to create paychecks and playchecks. Mm-hmm. And then you want to have an operating company long beyond normal retirement age. And, one of the things I would say is normal retirement age doesn't mean you can still own the company. It's different than working in the company.
You can hire someone to do the work.
You still make as long as that company has EBITDA earnings, after you've paid other things, you can make money by owning. How do you get dividends from your stocks? It's the excess profits of the company. If you invested in Amazon or Facebook, to my knowledge, you don't work there, but they provide, they give dividends, and and you're creating wealth. Why would you not do that in your own operating company? And remember, for a lot of people, when the rubber hits the road, I always say there's no, finish lines, only milestones. But for people that retire, I have a group of people that have said to me, you know what? Oh my God, I retired. It's like being in summer camp for senior citizens, and I should have retired 5 years ago. This is great. All we do is play golf and cards and have fun, and it's like summer camp, and I love it. But I know they're not entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are in creation, fascination mode, always swimming. And most entrepreneurs that I know, even who have all the money in the world, are miserable. And the reason why they're miserable is, you go through the different reasons why they're miserable. The first reason is they get a lot of excitement out of their life. There's no risk. There's no excitement in their life when they retire. One of the big things is there's structure. When you have a business, there's structure. You got to get up and go to work oftentimes. You got to do this. In retirement, there's not a lot of structure. The third thing there's not when you retire is there's no team. You've got a team around you to run your business. There's no team in retirement. I think that the other thing also is there's no applause. I know in your life, Gull, that the people that you're working with on every day, you're getting feedback from people saying, Gull, thank you so much. Thank you. You're terrific. You're wonderful. Well, when you retire, nobody's applauding. There's nobody when you wake up, retire, they ring your doorbell in the morning, they start clapping, they go, you're amazing, Gull. You are smart. You are beautiful. You are fabulous. You're fantastic. You've changed my life. That doesn't happen. For most retired people, at least. Yeah. And so I think that at the top of that pyramid is having earned income. And that doesn't mean you've got to be there, chained to the desk or chained to the company. But I think that keeping that earned income is critical. And so, so few people will do it, but I think they need a roadmap to be able to get that done.
100%. And I don't ever see myself retiring, because I don't think I need anything to retire from. I may change my work day, and I may change even the companies I'm building at the moment. I'm not sure whether I will exit from that. So the idea at the moment is to build a certain level and see whether you go through IPO or exit. But those are on the cards at the moment. I don't know how I'll feel 10, 15, 20 years down the line. But even if I do, it doesn't mean that that's the end of my work life. It means that I'll go into something else and make something else or create something else. I don't want to be turning 80 and thinking, oh, now I'm going to be sitting there knitting. I don't need to knit anyway, by the way. But I can't be sitting around, babysitting my children's children, my grandchildren, or my great grandchildren. I would love to play with them, but I would love to do something and create more or teach them or be an inspiration and so forth. So I think most entrepreneurs would die, I think, when they think of retirement. I think I would. I think the only time I would stop working is if I die. But working has a different definition for most people. They think of their corporate jobs 9 to 5, whereas for me, I'm working all the time. But I don't. It's not a bad thing. I enjoy that part. It's the creation part. It gets me excited. It gets me out of the bed, and I want to be able to do something and provide a service. And I want to feel like my life has a purpose, and I'm providing a service to people around me, even in my team members, in my various companies. I don't see them as employees, I see them as team members, and I'm there to serve them. And that gives me happiness. Obviously, money is a byproduct, but my goal isn't just to make money, it's to provide a service to my team members as well as my clients. And I think that's how it will continue.
One of the exercises that I think people should do about at least once a year is they should get a piece of paper out and put a T down the middle or a line down the middle and a T at the top. And on the left side, they should write all the things they'd be doing in retirement. And on the right side, they should be writing all the things they hate about their business or their job. And let's add stuff to the left and get rid of stuff on the right, with the theory being, if you're doing the things you want to do and not doing the things you don't want to do, why don't you retire today? Why wait till 65 or 70 to retire? Retire this afternoon. And I also think that in life, like people always say, do you have a business life or a personal life? Well, employees have a business life. I've got to be there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, in a typical job. Entrepreneurs have a life. They don't have a business life or a personal life. They go from one thing they like to another thing they like, always being in creation and fascination mode. And what the money does is allows them to buy their way out of the stuff that they don't want to do, so that they can be working on their unique ability or working in creation, fascination mode, the majority of their time. They can get rid of the stuff that they're terrible at. They can even get rid of some of the stuff they're good or competent in, so they can be in that zone a higher percentage of their day.
100%. 100%. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Mark, tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at northeastprivateclientgroup.com. We're in Roseland, New Jersey. You can also find me on Amazon with my third book that came out last year, which was The Ultimate Investment. It was Roadmap, a guide to creating multi-generational wealth. I really just tell you, I just enjoyed this conversation thoroughly, Gull, and just appreciate you and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for being such an amazing guest. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I've learned so much, and I'm sure my audience has as well. Thank you so much. So thank you for listening to us today. It's been an interesting conversation as always. And if you're watching this if you listen to this on podcast, remember the links for Mark will be in the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, down below in the description section, we'll have the links for Mark too. Go check him out. I think he's a fascinating individual. And if you are serious about a generational wealth, then do check out his book on Amazon and see how he can support you, especially if you're living inside the US. I'm sure he'll be able to guide you and I'll be able to help you a lot more. Well, and on that note, thank you so much, Mark. It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for being an amazing guest today.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to me and Mark today on Wednesday's Money Talkies. I will be back on another Money Talkies episode, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.